Good evening and welcome to the Final Flight podcast. And believe it or not, but there's three of us tonight, and we have a massive upgrade on the not so well, always distant Joe. You've got myself, James, and Rich, and we've got George Gorman. Good evening, mate. How are you, mate?
Yeah, all good. Yeah, I was actually, before the evening got away from me, I was going to sort of do my hair or something so that the sort of people that seem to follow Joe for the hair would get something. But the evening got away from me, I'm afraid. So it's just flat, dull, lifeless hair, I'm afraid, for that lot. I'll just have to make up for it with a few winners.
That'll do us, mate. I mean, if you go back and watch some of our early shows with Joyce, his hairstyle has certainly changed since he was basically a child when we started this. So I probably people checking my hard drive when we first started. But no, it's good to have you back on, mate. We appreciate you filling in. I mean, Joe has hinted that he might get on, but who knows at this point? Rich, are you looking forward to a very decent weekend's racing again, mate?
Yeah, you know, it looks quite competitive from some of the races that we're going to cover. So, yeah, hopefully we'll find a couple.
Yeah, well, like I say, some big racing, some good matchups. Like I said on Twitter, we'll get the comments going. As you can see, I'm on the fence at the moment, so we'll see where we end up later on in the show. Craig, so good evening, mate. Evening, lads. Looking forward to tonight's show. Back home in Scotland tomorrow, so for a little bit. That's good to hear, mate. You work hard, you deserve the break. Hope the kids are all right and the family and that. So, yeah, so we're going to get straight stuck into it, really. We're going to do a few races from Newcastle, Newbury, and then we'll have a little mention of the Irish stuff that's on Sunday. Obviously, there's some big clashes coming up, but yeah, so without further ado, we're just going to get straight into it, really. And I'm going to come to you first, George, mate, because we're starting at Newcastle in the 135.
Is it gone?
Yeah, he's frozen for me as well.
Great start. Well, it's 135 in Newcastle, George. If you want to set us off?
I'll kick off with that because it's a hard one to start with, isn't it? Better start off by saying it's a bad race for the grade. It's a 0 to 135, and your top weight here is rated 127, so it's £8 below what the top weight could be. So you're sort of looking through the form of some of these. A lot of their form is in class 4s and 5s. But this
Am I back?
You're back. Yeah.
Oh, I tell you, somewhere, the whole thing just froze then. I tell you what, I'm thinking, oh my God, I've actually played a blinder. Sorry, mate, crack on.
I thought you'd gone through a tunnel like Joe.
I don't know what happened. The whole thing just froze, and I'm like, you are kidding me. First time that's ever happened.
Yeah.
Anyway, crack on, mate.
Essentially, I'll say it's a bad race for the grade. So if you're looking through these horses' forms and going, geez, most of their forms in class 4s and class 5s, you maybe don't have to worry so much in a race like this. I'm actually quite familiar with the top weight. He used to be with Gary. In fact, can't remember if I definitely rode his mum's sister. I can't remember if I rode his mum herself. I think I rode her out anyway. But I definitely
it's good job people know this is about horses. Otherwise, if just tuned into that sentence, that'd be interesting.
But he was owned by the people who own Blow Your Wad, which is Jerry Hines and Ashley Head.
Yeah.
Jerash. He's half Jerry, half Ashley. But so sorry. On to the also I actually want to talk about. I sort of came down here. I thought Breakdance Kid doesn't look an obvious candidate to relish a step up in trip. He's got a couple of 3-mile wins to his name at class 5 level, but he didn't seem to be staying on that strongly over 3 mile 2.5 on his penultimate start. So I sort of just went with the horse that I know's perhaps got the class here, which was I like the way you're thinking. His third to Tommy Bow, 2 starts back, reads well now. He's £5 better off with Jerash now than he was that day. He finished second. He was rated as high as 139 in his younger days, and he sort of did the switch to Ben Haslam, as a lot of these JP McManus horses did. Managed to get down to a mark of 110 and then reverted 3 miles and won 3 of his next 4. It's, just sort of read between the lines with that, with what's happened there. But admittedly, the last one, he was left clear 2 out, but the result of that is that he gets to remain off 121, which is the mark he ran on that day, and it was the same mark when he was third to Tommy Bowe. You just know this horse is better than that. How much of his old ability is left, I don't know, but he should stay, and he's probably the class horse in the race. If you're looking for some, if there was any sort of a drift on Destiny at all, I'd maybe fancy that horse, because it's one of the very few definite confirmed stairs. It's 1 over 3-2, 3-3, 3 mile 5 second, and a 4 mile 4th beating less than 2 lengths. The 3 mile 2 wing came in October 23 off a pound higher than this, ridden by a £5 claimer. He's ridden by a £7 claimer here, leaving him £3 below that winning mark. So that'd be one 11-2. It wouldn't particularly interest me, but if that got any bigger, I would certainly maybe even think about a really dodgy 2 place each way on it. But for a win perspective, it's the McManus horses. I like the way you're thinking.
Fantastic, I love that. Go on then, Rich. While I just sort of sent out. Are you siding with somebody like who George has gone for there, or what are your thoughts, mate?
I kind of look for something a bit younger. I mean,
again, it's good job people know run about horses. Tell you what, there's some one-liners from you two already.
I mean, it could nearly be a veterans chase, this, couldn't it? We've got an 11-year-old, a 10-year-old, 10-year-old, 9-year-old.
Hey, don't be dissing the mature horses, mate. They run some really good races, pal.
Depends what you like to back. I'm gonna. I mean,
just because there's no 4-6 shot.
It's not a strong selection, but I'm going to chance Gem Inham for Lucinda Russell. I think dropped under £2 after finishing 4th on second chase start at Kelso. That was over 3 miles 2. The report was held up in the rear, made late headway. So I think the step up in trip's probably going to suit. A previous winner over hurdles off 1:04. That was over 3 miles on soft, heavy going. And the race at Kelso, where he finished 4th, the 3rd Cardamom Hill, has then won a race at Wetherby next time out. So he's just one I'm just going to chance at. He's off a low weight, 10 stone 3. He should stay. I just think he might have the legs to beat some of these older horses. So, like I say, it's not a strong selection, but it's just something I'm maybe throw a few quid at. I think he's about 10s, or he could be a double figure price, I think. So,
was that Gem's in
M?
M?
That's the one.
10-3.
It's 10-3. Opened up 10-3 on William Hill.
Oh, well, Sporting Life predicted 10-1. So
you know that if it's double figures on Sporting Life, it's definitely single figures. That's fair enough, mate. I'm going to have a little each way. I'm having the muggy 2 place each way on that Jurash that you said you know about before, George. I quite like him for Sean Bowen. I thought the second to Tommy Bowe was decent form. Second last time out. I think he'll be all right at the trip. Ground's not an issue. It's good ground currently. I don't know if it's going to rain or what, but yeah, it's a tight little 2 deep. But yeah, I'm going for Jurash each way. I'm just being summoned. Won't be a minute. What did you say? Tell you what, we're having a right good evening tonight, aren't we, guys? This is brilliant. Right, I'm back. Right, we're going to move on. Now, shall we do the... Do you want to do the 2? We'll do the 320 first, and then we'll finish on the Newcastle on the fighting fifth. We'll swap it around in a second. We'll do the 320 instead. The rehearsal chase. This is another tasty race. Obviously, some really nice horses in here. I'm going to kick off with you, Rich, mate. The changing man's in at 5-1. Current favourite, 5-1 the field. It's a pretty open race. Bow to Greatness, obviously a horse I've got a pretty good connection with at the moment. Won for me last time after pulling up in that Highland race, if you remember. Put him up for the Racing Tipstar thing, which I'm in the final of, so get in for myself. Thank you. Cheers for that. Donny Boy, it's 5-2. It's 15-2. Marble Sands sort of bigger than the rest. Go on, Rich. What are you thinking for this one, pal?
Again, I've tried to look away from the top of the market, I think. Well, according to Timeform, anyway, I've not actually checked.
You all right, Rich? It's not like you. This you're going to make me feel a bit worried.
When it's these sort of handicaps, I just kind of like throw a dart.
Festive period's finally here. We're getting some presents off Rich. I love it.
So the one I've landed on is Gustavian for.
I put him up last time.
Is it Anthony Honeybell? I think.
Yeah.
The trainer is.
Sean Bowen's
The wind
ride. He could have a nice
racer,
couple.
Yeah. So he's been left on 1-2-4 after finishing third at Wincanton last time out. But if you watch it back, he was hampered by a faller at the 16th fence, and then got hampered again by a faller 4 out. I just think that he would have got a lot closer if he had a clear round. So he's one that I'm probably going to chance. I mean, his last chase win did come back in February 2023 off 1-3-2, I think it was. So he could be well handicapped, but age 9, he is one of the older boys. So he's the one I'm just going to chance, I think. Like I say, again, it's not a strong opinion, but it's just one I'm just going to throw a dart at.
Yeah, and the last time he won, Sean Bowen was actually on him, so that could be a telling thing. George, are you thinking something like Gustavian or top of the market? It's quite an open race, isn't it?
I'm not with him, but I like the angle because I do think at 12-1, he's probably an each way bet to nothing with an extra place because he usually gets round and he usually hits the first. You probably get 4 places if you're with a bookie who's going to give you a 6 for the odds or something. You might get 5 places. But I like the way you're thinking. Funny enough, after the last race, I think that we've got the right favourite here. Like the Changing Man, he was running very well in the Badger Beers, and the fall wasn't his fault. He jumped really well, and it was just one of those things. But just he was starting to get outpaced. Like this long stride just appears in front of Brendan, and he has to go for it. Because basically, if you're getting outpaced like that and you sit and you pop, you're just going to lose so much ground. He has to go, and the horse just doesn't have the scope to answer him. So other than that, he jumped fantastically. And this would be his second start after the wind up. Like this is a horse that split Stairway, Fay, and Grey Dawning in the Silver Bowl at Exeter last year. The form went off a bit of a cliff after that, but then just on his last run before he went off on holiday, he was able to get within 2 lengths of Regal Blue off a mark of 1.26. If he can do that when he can't breathe, there's probably a lot of ability we haven't seen from him here. Whether I'll take 5-1 about him, I don't know. I might hang around. My main play in the race would be Jet Plane. Like he's a reasonable each way alternative. Like his seasonal debut saw him finish a length and 3/4 behind Jaguar, who obviously is probably a friend of the podcast, I imagine, given connections. Or maybe not a friend of the podcast, given how his novice hurdle season went. He's now rated a stone higher than he was that day after his subsequent win at Bangor. That was over 2 miles, 3.5. Obviously, that day when he finished behind Jaguar. The jet Plane has 2 wins to his name over 3 miles plus. The fact that he gets to run off the same mark with the benefit of a run under a belt here, like he's off the same mark he was when he finished behind Jaguar, back up to 3 miles, benefit of a run under his belt. I think he's very hard to ignore. Is he about 11-1? Yeah, 11-1.
Yeah, 11-1. Yeah,
that's a knock in each way bet, especially given a lot of those Dan Skelton horses. It seems to me they're in 2 camps. There are the horses that were trained, like whizzed up to the eyeballs to win first time out, and there are some that are waiting for later targets. I can't think this mark would be too good to ignore. The fact that he's off the same mark as he was the last day, and Jaguar's up a stone. I think at 11-1, he's a cracking each way bet, but I wouldn't be surprised to see the Changing Man win it.
No, that's fair points. I mean, I were at Weatherby yesterday, and there were quite a few of Skelton's rides that were there, and you could sort of see how they operate a little bit. And a couple of them rides, you could maybe say they were given plenty to do. That's what we're keep an eye on some of them going forward. But yeah, I think you're spot on there with Jet Plane, like you say there. The form with Jaguar is pretty rock solid. He's obviously a massive podcast favourite of ours, as is John Joe. Every time he rides him, he doesn't give us any much of a scare. I promise you that. He's definitely a nice each way player. I think Gustavian, as Rich mentioned, there was one I was going to just have a small each way bet on him. I played him in the race at Wincanton, and like you said, there he got a little bit hampered. Fair play to all dancers who's since been retired. He's obviously gone well. And Bow to Greatness, I was going to mention him. Obviously, I think he's one of them that's just going to keep getting better and better and better. To be honest, Keelan Woods is on him, which is which is a fine with him on the podcast the other week, and we know how good it can be. So, yeah, my two players were going to be Bow to Greatness and Gustavian again. So I think one of us at least is going to have the winner there, surely. Fingers crossed that is the case. Michael's on. Good evening, Michael, mate. Nice one. Hello, lads. You got the man. Hello, George. Yeah, we got him on. Finally got George on. Right, finally got somebody who actually knows what they're talking about on. Joe, again, nowhere to be seen. Right. We're going to move on now to a race that has been on the lips of everyone's mind and the last few weeks. The Fighting Fifth. It would have been a constitutional procession. Obviously, it's got a lot of the issues. We've now got Sir Gino in here, currently a 65 favourite. Mystical Power in the change of colours, in the richer colours, 13-8. Brentford Hope is 12-1, bigger the rest. Lump sum, take no chances. Colonel Mustard, tell her the name, Benson. George, I'll come to you first, mate. Obviously, you've come on tonight. I suppose, as well as who you think is going to win, what do you make of Constitution Hill? Do you think he's ever going to come back?
I would say something. You can either take us controversial or I don't know, but that gallop doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. He's either, if he's been working the house down at home and he's just chucked in a stinker, fair play, and like he's got this injury and whatever. Even if he's working the house down at home, given how the last public gallop went, why was he working with Sir Gino? Why wasn't he working with First Street or Donny the Great? Or I don't understand it. Like, it's either Nicky going, well, whatever happens, happens, and I don't care what anyone else thinks, which I don't think is Nicky. It's almost like they didn't want him to work well. Which, like, that's not controversial because it's not a race.
No,
we're not talking about stopping horses or anything like that. But it's strange to me that you're working with probably the second best horse in your yard when there was such a furore kicked up over the last time he worked bad in public. Why wouldn't you just put him with something rated 130 and kick it out the way? I really don't understand it. It would make me more inclined that there's something still there with Constitution Hill than the other way. I'd be certainly, if he was working with First Street and getting lapped, I'd be really worried. In fact, he's working with Sir Gino. I'm like, well, yeah, it's a younger horse. It's probably a fizzier horse that would live on its, it's a younger horse. It live on its nerves a bit more. It gets itself fitter quicker. I wouldn't be that worried about that piece of work. But why the piece of work occurred, I don't really know.
Yeah,
I'm not saying more. He was trying to get a price about it for the champion hurdle or anything like that. But it seems strange.
Well, Nico went on that other show, didn't he? And he sort of said, "Well, he's a good price now." And then 2 days later, they pulled him out. So, yeah, it's a weird one. I mean, we saw it. Obviously, it's not. I don't know. These racecourse gallops just seem to be coming about a lot more now, don't they? Like you say, what should we make of it?
They went no gallop in that piece of work as well. Like, it was a sprint over 2 furlongs, which some pieces of work are, but it's people are taking it like gospel. That's what happens in a race, and it's just not the case at all. It's like,
ground was bad as well, from what I saw.
Yes, the ground was bad. Yeah. It's you can't take a whole lot from piece of work like that. That piece of work was ridden to favour the quickest horse, and the quickest horse is probably the youngest horse. Do you know what I mean? But you've got to ride a piece of work like that. If they were worried about Constitution Hill's fitness, they don't want to work them hard over 6 furlongs together, because then the less fit horse is also going to suffer. If they're both fit and I'm on Constitution Hill and I'm working with Sir Gino, I'm going to lead the piece of work and I'm going to go hard from the word go, because the horse with the better engine will win then. They've ridden him to give him an easy piece of work and he's got done for toe, is what's happened. But I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, well, suppose going from that on to Sir Gino. I mean, Mystical Power, Sir Gino. At least we've got 8 runners in it. Well, we've got 9 currently, which hopefully gives a bit of an each way play if you want to take that. Are you with any of the top 2? Are you against? What are your thoughts, mate?
I think this is a race where you've got to make the logical bet, and if it doesn't work out, then great. We've got a superstar on our hands. But at the moment, Mystical Power's the best of these on ratings. He improved with every run last year. His RPRs went 144, 144, 148, 153. It's probably a combination of his physical progression, him learning to settle, and actually the ground got quicker with each of his runs. And I think all of those would have been a factor in that. Sir Gino's got a huge engine, but only 4-4-year-olds have ever won this race. And he has to prove he's trained on, whereas Mystical Power has form against horses this age. You know, he's not been kept his own age group last year. And also, Sir Gino's jumping was far from faultless last year. Like, he's a machine. He's an absolute machine, don't get me wrong. But I almost would have been against him going chasing. He's a bit leggy, and like, if he gets himself in a bit of a muddle, I just think on good ground, if there's a grade 1 gallop here, I could see him getting himself in trouble jumping wise. Whereas everything that means this race might not suit Sir Gino means it will suit Mystical Power. The faster they go, the better he's going to go. His jumping's got better and better. He's a Galileo, so he won't have a problem with good ground. It should be said Sir Gino's best run was on soft ground as well. I think you've got to back the horse that at the moment is the best. And if Sir Gino topples Mystical Power, then we've got an absolute superstar, and you won't worry about the 10 he's lost.
Yeah, I think they're all completely and utterly fair points. Rich, obviously we liked Sir Gino from last season. Shame he didn't end up in the Triumph with the issues they had. Mystical Power's obviously looking really, finished his season off really well. Which way are you siding? And I'll decide which scarf to take off.
I mean, the bet is the reverse forecast, isn't it? Surely.
That's like lose money, won't you?
Well, I've just had a quick look on Bet365. If you put a tenner on each, I think you'll win 29 quid or 30 odd quid. So you're going to win either way. Maybe not a lot if it's Sir Gino Mystical Power, but I mean, I can't see anything else knocking them off the first 2 spots, to be fair, in what the race is. I mean, Sir Gino beat the best hurdler we've ever seen, apparently, Con Hill, so you can't really knock his form, can you? Race course gallops and all that. But yeah, I agree with George. Mystical Power's obviously got the best form. Is he the highest rated?
Yes.
Yeah, he's the highest rated in the race. I mean, Annie Power was a mare that I loved. She was one of my favourites. Garley obviously got that flat pedigree. It's not really a betting race, it's just one to watch and enjoy. I mean, have they watered at Newcastle? Are they going to get some water down for Nicky? Is that going to be?
I've just looked, and it is currently good ground, and I've looked at the forecast, and there's barely any rain.
Well, if they leave the taps running, just depends, doesn't it?
It won't make any difference to Nicky. Last year they moved it to Sandown for him, and he still didn't run the horse.
True.
Oh yeah, they did, didn't they? Yeah.
They moved it to Sandown for Constitution Hill, and they've not run it.
Yeah, because it's still turned. Yeah, oh my god, yeah, soft ground, good ground, bloody hell. If they pulled Sir Gino out now last minute, it'd be a right farce.
If you had to pick one, I think Mystical Power is the one to go out just because he's a bigger price than Sir Gino. Whereas, I mean, he's the highest rated and beat better horses in my opinion. So he's the one I would probably pick. But like I say, reverse forecast is probably the bet to have, and you can't really lose.
Or if you've got a strong fancy on what finishes third, you go. Because that could be the way to play it. Because I think if I was going to play it, it would either be Lump Sum or Colonel Mustard, wouldn't it? Colonel Mustard doesn't know how to finish 4th. He can't finish out of the first 3, and he's 40-1. Surely that makes the Tricast pay something.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to look at Lump Sum. I mean, he was, 14.5 lengths off Mystical Power at Aintree. So is that good enough to come third? Probably.
It might not be. Because we know already Colonel Mustard's decent is this standard in open company. I know Lump Sum won a handicap the last day, didn't he? But
I'll tell you what, that race at Ascot, the last one to come third, be a lucky place. That's going to work out to be a good race, isn't it? I reckon. Maybe.
I disagree. There's too many of them in with a chance jump in the last for me.
Potentially. I mean, for me, I'll take off the scarf that's coming off. You ready? 3, 2, we go. Oh.
You're taking off the Donnelly scarf?
The theatrical prowess of this show is unbelievable. I'm having to agree with you both, to be honest. I've looked at this race today, and as much as I love Sir Gino, I do think on good ground, he's jumping. I mean, he needs to show it. Mystical Power's obviously been and shown it at the higher level. I just think if he goes and wins, fair enough. I mean, obviously, I won't have a bet in the race personally. I'd just leave it and watch them go toe to toe. Hopefully they do. If I had to fall off the fence which way or the other, I'd barely just go to Mystical Power. But I hope Sir Gino is an absolute weapon. But I also hope that Mystical Power, if he bolts up, it'd be brilliant because then he'd hopefully become the number one Mullins Richie champion hurdle horse, wouldn't he, Rich? Which would then send Lossie to the mares. And I want nothing more in this world than Lossie Mouth to end up in that mares hurdle. Rich, George, what have we got you, mate? Lossie Mouth, champion hurdle or mares hurdle?
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same thing, isn't it? If she was mine, well, we'll know more after this weekend, won't we? But I'd probably go champion hurdle. I'm not convinced she gets 2.5. I've actually got something for when we were going. I had it written down here. What was it? Her price is, here we go. Where's Lossie Mouth? Right. So she started favourite on her last 7 starts. She's gone off odds on in all of them except the Triumph Hurdle. And her 2 runs at 2 mile 4, she's gone off 8 to 13 and 2 to 11. That doesn't prove you get 2-4 to me. She's been winning races she's entitled to win for quite some time. And I think she might get a shock on Sunday. Because this is the first time she's faced a decent horse in a good while, isn't it? Maybe ever. You think Teahupoo disposed of Ampere Pass on his first start in this race last season. Ampere Pass was rated £4 higher than Lossie Mouth is now at that time. Admittedly, Lossie Mouth received £7. If the ground goes soft, Teahupoo's the bet for me. If I'll sit and watch it if it stays yielding. But if it goes soft, I think Teahupoo will beat her. Especially, he's so pliable in his races that you can ride him to beat another horse. Like you watch him last year, Jack Henley's just sat on Paul Tannen's boot the whole way around, making Ampere Pass as keen as possible. He'll either do that to Lossie Mouth this year, or he'll try and bounce out and really just prove that she doesn't stay, essentially.
Make it a proper test. A little bit like what I did with Brighter Days Ahead against Stateman, maybe, yeah.
I think if it turns soft, he'll just sit on its boot. If it's fast ground, he's going to have to make it. I think that's sort of how it's going to go. It's not going to be fast, but it's yielding at the minute. If it dries out, he'll have to bounce out and make it. Because if he tries sitting on her boot, then she's just going to go too fast for him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It'll be an interesting matchup. I think that I've taken on Lossie Mouth a lot and I've got burnt a lot. I said I wasn't going to do it again, but this is the first time she's faced anything anywhere near as good as Teahupoo. And I might not bet, but if it turns soft, I will back Teahupoo.
No point asking you, Rich. I might ask you later, but you're just blind, Lossie Mouth. Don't matter what she's got on. So
she wins the champion.
We'll talk about it later. We'll see, mate. Long way to go.
If she runs in it.
Say that again, sorry?
I think she might win the champion hurdle if she runs in it. Like, she's a 2-miler, and the division isn't. It's certainly not without its problems at the moment, is it? Like, we seem to have more good horses than ever, but we don't know how many of them are actually going to end up at the champion hurdle. Like, the quality's there, but they're all sick, lame, lazy, or going for different races.
I sort of said to Rich earlier today, I said, if Mystical Power, say, gets to March unbeaten and Lossie Mouth's unbeaten, would they split them up now? They're in the same colours, sort of thing. Maybe.
Also, I backed Jade DeGrugy for the Mayor's Hurdle after the festival last year. So, given we found out today she's going to be out until about January, if Lossie Mouth could stay away from the Mayor's Hurdle, that'd be great.
It's more than just running. There's this running theme with Rich and Joe. The one's gone for champion, the one's gone for Mayor's Hurdle. And Rich is just so blindly, I don't care what happens, she wins. But fair enough, we'll see what happens. Right, moving on then over to Newbury with a belting race here, the 115 novice hurdle. You've got the new line in here for the Skeltons, Califet and Vol for Henderson, James Bowen's on Friendship, another good horse for the Hobbs Johnson team, and sort of 18 to 1 bigger the rest. I'll come to you, Rich, to kick us off, mate, at Newbury. Which one of the front three are you with, or are you against? Is it New Lines to lose?
It's a cracking race, isn't it? I mean, you got Friendship who beat Let It Rain, who won quite easily at Weatherby yesterday. And then
Well,
you've
only
got
just.
the
She got that
Henderson
cut.
Hook.
I'd be worried about what's up there, by the way.
Oh, the cut.
In fact, just to interrupt you there, George, obviously you've got a lot of experience in and around these horses. Let It Rain, I was at Wetherby, and she had a very nasty looking cut on the back of her right leg on the bottom half, probably about 2 to 3 inch long, or almost the thickness of her leg long, and about an inch. Yeah, is it the right front leg?
Right, off the off four.
Yeah,
Down the
at
back.
the bottom. You are at the
Down
back
the
of her
back of
leg,
it.
yeah, like as if it were your Achilles, about the length of her leg and about an inch deep. Didn't look good. Dan didn't sound very. Is that the sort of thing that finishes the season?
Your worry with that is that you get an infection in the tendon sheath. If it's as deep as it sounds like, it's probably gone through the tendon sheath. If it's hopefully it hasn't. If it's even grazed the tendon, you're probably out for the season because the tendon is so tightly wound that any slight damage is instantly sort of 10 times by just the force of the leg. But your main worry there is an infection in the tendon sheath can be potentially life-threatening. You have to be very, very careful keeping it clean and everything because once
they got her out of the
or anything in there, it can go into the joint, it can go through to the bone. You've got to be very careful. You've got to get it well cleaned and stitched up, and then constantly cleaned, basically.
Well, they got her out of the ring pretty sharpish, and the only words I heard from Dan Skelton say were "shit, that's a bad one." So if you've got an anti-post bet on her for the mare's novice potentially, and you're listening, it might be worth just keeping an eye on that situation. But yeah, anyway, so. Go on then. Sorry to jump in there, Rich. Go on then, mate. The New Lion. Who are we on here, mate? Carry on.
The one I'm going to land on is a New Lion. I think that's the one that's got most scope and potential, probably. I don't think he's really been tested. He was an easy bumper winner at Market Raisin, and then an easy winner at Chepstow on Hurdle's debut. He won going away. I just think he's the one that might have a higher ceiling than the other two. So he's the one I'm going to land on.
Fair play. I'm not worried it's going to be another Valgrand, maybe. Who knows? George, which way you siding, mate? The front three look pretty decent, don't they?
Yeah, it's probably a no bet for me. The New Lions, I've heard plenty of people in and around the yard talking about this horse for a long time. He's obviously a very nice horse, and he's been well backed on both his previous appearances. He got backed very quickly when he got put in here today as well. He probably is the best of these, but he hasn't recorded the highest RPR. That's the second favourite, Califay on Vol, who won by 14 lengths last time out. And when you're talking about novices with such limited information, I can't take 4 to 5 when he's taking on 5 horses who have won last time out as well. And the second favourite being a horse that won by 14 lengths last time. I just don't think you haven't got enough information to take 4 to 5 about that horse for me. I'd just leave this one.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment. I think, I wouldn't back New Lion. I think I got stung by Valgrand. I know, obviously, Potter's Charm was a very good. I won't go on to that too much because Richard has never stopped letting me hear the end of it. But I won't be taking 4 to 5 New Lion personally as well. I think I'm happy to go let him win. If I was going to have a bet in the race, I quite like this Califet on Vol. He really, really impressed me at Kempton last time. I know Nico's not going to be on because he's obviously gone to Newcastle for Sir Gino. But I think if I was going to have a bet, he'd be the one to be on. Friendship, the form with Let It Rain. I know people mention the ride on Let It Rain and things like that, but I don't know. You might be shed a bit of light on it. On that, George, what did you make of the ride on Let It Rain last time behind this Friendship? Could Skelton have gone and won that, do you think?
I couldn't say off the top of my head. I saw it. Where was this?
The race at Chepstow. He pulled about 20 lengths clear, and a lot of people think that Skelton didn't really give her much of a ride. But anyway, if you didn't see it, it doesn't matter. I'd be back in on Vol in this. Just a small interest play, to be honest. And whoever wins this race, if they go and win it well, it's going to be a very, very good horse, I think, definitely going forward. So we'll see which way it goes. Right, the next race, the 154, which is a handicap hurdle. over 2.5 mile, just over. You've got Impose Twine here for JP in the waterside. A horse we know quite a lot about. Guard the Moon, 15-8. Lac de Constance in here, 8-1. Anyhow, I'm asking 9-1. George, 10-1 bigger the rest. Let us know your thoughts on this race, mate. Handicap hurdle.
Well, I just looked at this race. I thought, fair enough, in the waterside, first time back from a wind up, but Nichols and Henderson haven't particularly been people to be with first time out this season. Twiston Davies' horse looks to me like one that was ready early and has maybe reached his ceiling in terms of handicapping. Any harm in asking, just doesn't seem to like winning. I think this is one that's ripe for a big each way swing, and I don't think this is that big of a swing. I'm with Issam, who was fourth in the Welsh Champion Hurdle that's been talked about a lot at the start of this season. That form looks excellent in hindsight. The winner, lump sum, is now £9 higher. The second was Steel Alley, who is £9 higher after winning last weekend. And the third horse, Black Hawk Eagle, was second in a Class 3 at Huntingdon next time. But he got badly interfered with early on, and he was sort of keeping on second. The winner got first run on him, and it was actually a very good run. It should be remembered as well, Issam, all of his forms over further than 2 miles. So to run a race like that first time out over 2 mile, now he gets to come here back to a more suitable trip off the same mark he was off in the Welsh Champion Hurdle as well. I think he warrants serious consideration. And at 10-1, I think he's almost an each way bet to nothing. Like, I just, if in the waterside it turns out to be fantastic and great, but I can't kick this Issam out of the top 4 or 5 anyway. And I think once you get below him, you're struggling for anything. So I think it's there aren't that many horses in this race that can win it, is what I'm saying, and Issam's one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go to you, Rich, because I mean I'm basically going down a very similar route to what George just said there. So I'm quite happy that he's picked that out and give that description there. Because I actually really like Issam as well. I think you're right there, George, with that form from that Welsh Champion Hurdle. I mean, it's absolutely rock solid. Let's be honest, it is. Lump sum and Steel Allies, like I say, gone on to frank it pretty well, and he weren't even that far behind him. Like I say, stepping up in trip off the same mark, I think is a cracking bet. He's 10-1 with Sky Bet at the moment, 5 places. He's sort of 8-1s across the board everywhere else. But you're getting 4 places and things like that for other places. So yeah, he's the one for me. Lac de Constance was interesting when I thought for Skeltons he might run into a place as well, but he seemed to be going okay when he fell last time. But I don't know, backing him after a fall, it's always a bit which way or the other. But yeah, so I'm with this Sam as well. Rich, have you thought of anything at each way play or in the water side maybe?
I mean, it is sort of an each way, I suppose, a small one.
I never forget when he beat Jaguar on that day, and all them hurdles were took out. We were absolutely sick, weren't we?
He jumped like a dog that day as well.
Oh, I know. Oh, the one that got away. Anyway, carry on. Sorry.
I think the top 2 in the market are very good horses and probably should be followed. Impoised Trois, I was there at Cheltenham when he bolted up off a mark of 1-2-1. I mean, he's £13 higher, I think now. The one I'm going to side with though is in the waterside. I'm surprised they're going handicap hurdle route with him to start him off, because I thought he's more of a chaser. So I think it's quite interesting they're going to start him off over hurdles off a 1-3-2. They might think that there is some juice in that mark to try and just get a little pot in, maybe. Like I say, off the back of wind surgery as well. Gets a bit of weight from Impoised Trois. I think he's about 5. I just think it's a bit of a muggy each way. I just think he should run a nice race, and yeah, little muggy each way at 5, I think, is the way I'll probably play that.
I'd say, as a listener as well as an occasional guest on this, you love an each way 5-1 shot.
I do. Yeah.
It's 5 places on Sky Bet.
I can't knock it. I said if I had to be with one of the top 5 in the betting, it would be in the waterside, especially the wind up angle. I think really helps. And you're right. I'm shocked he's not gone chasing. So there must think there's juice in his mark.
You know what they say, don't they? You know what they say, Rich? The stake back is basically a win, isn't it? Let's be honest. Stake back first place is a win.
And it's worth 20 grand to the winner, so they might just think and get that in the pot, and then let's go chasing.
That is the Nichols move, seemingly now, isn't it?
It certainly is. Yeah, it certainly is. Right, it's 2 for a salmon, 1 for in the waterside. Love it. Right, the 225 intermediate handicap hurdle. And we've got a cracking race. We've got Jericho de Repenay is in here after his antics last time over the fences. He's now back over hurdles. Liara's second favourite for Nichols. Queen's Gamble's in here for Derma 7-1. Salva's in here 8-1 with Caelan Quinn on, and sort of 12-1 bigger the rest. Are you lumping on Salva, George? Is he getting his ground?
If I look at it objectively, I can't back a 4-year-old carrying 12 stone handicap. First run though for the company, I can't. And look, he's come in bigger and stronger. I can't wait to see him go chasing. It's going to be a tricky year for him. I think he'll pick something up, but 1-4-3 is massive, isn't it? Considering he didn't actually, that's almost like if he had won the Triumph Hurdle. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think was it on here that I think I put him up for the Fred Winter when he was rated 127 or something.
And and it was like, if the rain comes, he's a banker. It just didn't come, it?
But I think he'll pick something up on heavy ground, probably with a little bit less weight than this. But it's a tricky year, and I think it's probably a reaction to we sent Nassalam chasing at 4, and he was very lucky to win a Grade 2 novice chase at Newbury, but he struggled the second half of the season, and then he had all sorts of physical issues the following season. It took us a year to get him back, really. So this is more take care of him, go novice chasing next year with a proper horse. Like,
that makes sense.
When you walk down the paddock, he's a big horse now.
Yeah.
But this is one I really struggled over. I narrowed it down to 3, and then I've sort of kicked 2 of them out on the basis of ground. Just say them quickly. Betty was one of them I looked at. Bolted up first time out this season after a summer wind up. She was second in listed race of Golden Ace at Cheltenham in April, and she's only up £6 for last win. But she's yet to win on ground worse than good to soft. Although obviously, if her wind was bad, that might have been why they were avoiding that sort of ground with her. The other one was Queen's Gamble. Hasn't been seen in a year. But it's got to be noted that the defeat of Casa Nomento when last seen off levels at Taunton, that horse obviously went and won a Punchestown Festival afterwards, is now rated 138, while Queen's Gamble still remains off 130 and beat her 3 lengths off levels. But it's impossible to know how fit she's going to be off such a long layoff, especially with how much they think of her. Surely they're going to be thinking further down the line. And again, her only encounter with soft ground was when blowing out in the champion bumper, so it's impossible to know if she liked soft ground or not. So I ended up on, having talked about a 4-year-old with top weight, we're going to talk about a 4-year-old with no weight. I landed on Accelero. He could be very well treated off 120. He finished 2 3/4 lengths behind Salva in a maiden hurdle, now receives £23 from him here. Of course, a lot of water's gone under the bridge since then. That could well flatter him. But then on his next start at Cheltenham, he finished within a length and a half of Burdett Road and Milantino, who are now rated 142 and 125. The fitting of a hood after that probably brought about further improvement. He won with his head in his chest next time out. But admittedly, it was a race he should have been winning. He then got beat on fast ground at Kempton in May, and the handicap dropped him 4. If you thought he was starting favourite, I think he went off like 7-2 for that or something. It wasn't a race he was necessarily
7-4.
7-4 was it? Yeah. It wasn't necessarily a race he was expected to win. He wasn't favourite. He got dropped £4 for finishing. Was it 4th? I think. I think that's a huge overreaction. Now back on softer ground, these conditions are going to suit better. 120 for a horse that's finished in and around all those horses as juvenile. If he can train on, I think 120 will look very, very lenient. So I'm probably going to side with Accelero.
I love that. Rich, I mean, Accelero, Joe's been a massively good case for him there. forming behind a lot of very, very nice, highly rated horses. Is that the angle you're going for as well? Are you finding something else? What are your thoughts? I'm obviously you're not going to go for Jericho, are you? The Buzzball.
I mean, we was there at Doncaster when he won that race against Lump Sum, and I can't remember who was finished third. I mean, he stuck to the task and won in the end, but we weren't blown away by him, were we? So he's one I probably would
It's not
avoid.
bad form, I suppose. It's not bad form.
He's got a load of stick at the time for how much hard work he made of it. Actually, it looks all right now with Lump Sum doing what he's done this season so far.
I would want to see him back to something of that sort of form. I mean, he's pulled up at Cheltenham and pulled up on his chase bow. I'd probably stay away until he's back. So the one I'm going to land on is Liari for Nichols. Again, I think he's about 11-2. You can get 5 places on Sky. I can't see him out of the top 5. I mean, when he ran at Chepstow, all of Nichols' horses looked like they needed a run. I expect him to be fitter and a bit more primed for this, I'd have thought. I mean, he's running off. What is his mark? 130. I think he got dropped £1 for that. He gets weight off the favourite, Jericho. His jumping isn't probably as smooth as you would want it, but I just think this horse has still got a lot of potential. I think he's better than 130. So I think in each way, again, it's a little bit of a muggy each way. 5 places is the one I'd probably be on. I can't have Queen's Gamble, like you say, just because of the layoff. I think she's got bigger targets.
It's worth watching with that mark, though. I think she could be well handicapped still. When we got to work out what the aim is.
And there's nothing else in the field that really jumps out at me or takes any sort of fancy whatsoever. So Liari each way is the one I would probably go for.
Yeah, I think you've both made brilliant points there. I didn't actually have that much time to look through this race, and I did quite like the look of Liari with Cobden on. I think there's a win in that horse at some point. And to be fair, George, your word for Accelero there, I think I'd be following them two in, to be honest. So I'm going to keep that one short and sweet. And I'm going to stick with you.
Forgot to say was Jane Williams actually had a shocking season last year, and this Accelero ran well all season. She was struggling with the All C rate, wasn't she? And everything was running dreadfully. She went like months and months and months without a winner, didn't she? And this horse kept running all right. So it's just something that popped into my head there. I thought was worth mentioning.
Yeah, if you get a sort of yard struggling and 1 or 2 kind of still hold the form, that's normally a pretty decent sign, isn't it? So hopefully that's the case. Right. So the last race we're going to do before we have a quick word on the Irish stuff is the Coral Gold Cup. One of your favourites is in Era's favourite, Broadway Boy, 13-2. Rich Senior Chiefs in here. Colonel Harry's 15-2 now. Victorino 8-1, bigger the rest. Who are you with in here, mate? Have you dissected the Coral Gold Cup?
I hope so. I mean, I'll give a quick mention to a mare that I like, Gala de la Toes in here. Well, I think her main target's going to be the Welsh National, so I think this might just be a little.
She needs 8 mile.
She also needs bad ground, so yeah, she's one I'll be looking to make sure, see how she runs and jumps, and potentially back her for something else down the line. The one I do like in here is Broadway Boy. I mean, he's on a bit of a comeback sort of mission. I mean, he runs off 148 after finishing 3rd at Cheltenham in October. He might have just needed that run. I mean, he wasn't right after, was it January or February? I think he had ulcers or something like that. So something was amiss, and he might have just needed that to get back on course. I mean, he's got handicap experience. He won that race at Cheltenham off 146. I just think if he is back, I just think he's a player in this and quite dangerous. I'm not sure what odds is he? He's about 6s, something like
that. 13-2. Oh, well, 6-1 everywhere else, really. 13 Willingham.
Yeah, we'll take that each way.
That's fair cop. Another each way, mug each way. Go on then, George. You must have a nice one in here, Charlotte. It's a nice-ish race, I suppose. Might be some with targets elsewhere, maybe, but you find as a winner?
Yeah, I found this too easy for Hennessy.
Let's see if you've landed on the same one as me again.
There's only 2 horses in this I've thought of backing. The one was the De Bromhead horse, where you obviously, Sky might be the limit for that horse. So You don't know how much he's improving or whatever. The other one was Midnight River. I thought it was absolutely jumped out and smacked me in the face. So the seasonal debut over 2.5-3 can be ignored. Like it was back of an 11-month break, probably over slightly too short for him these days. And it should be remembered the reason he had an 11-month break was he was cruising in this race last year off £5 higher when he came down. He's here off 151, which also happens to be his last winning mark from the 2023 freebooter at Aintree, which is essentially over the same distance and ground. I think was it good to soft at Aintree that day, I think, and pretty much pretty much 3 mile one. I think he's one of the most consistent, reliable horses in training, and the Skelton's probably had this race in mind as his target for a long time. I think he's really hard to ignore. The only thing that stands out to me is that Harry Skelton's not riding him. But I can't have Gallia de la Toe winning this. I think she's only won once over fences, certainly, that wasn't against mares, and it was a novice event. But she's never won against the boys in a handicap. And I just can't have her at all. Midnight River is the only horse in the race I could back, to be honest. And there's some horses in here I like. Henry's Friend, I'm a fan of. Victorino, I'm a fan of. Broadway Boy, I'm a fan of. But I couldn't have any horse on my mind other than Midnight River.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'm on Midnight River as well. I think even though when it's James Bowen on, I think it's obviously a really good jockey booking. You know, he's good as James, and I think I'm surprised Harry's on Gallia, but I think that might just be one of them where they've I don't know. I think she's got a big win in her, but I think she wants a lot further, a lot softer.
Look,
I think the format, obviously.
Sometimes they go, look, you come in all the time, you ride out, and you're always on the second or the third string or whatever. Sometimes they just go, right, you ride the first string today. Like it can work like that. Like, look, Brian Hayes always has one really nice winner in England for Willie Mullins every year, doesn't he? Do you think Paul Townend didn't want to ride it? He probably did, but you've got to keep everyone happy.
That's very true. That's the one. I mean, obviously that form. I mean, obviously beat Bouter Great. I mean, it's kind of tied in with Bouter Great because obviously I really like the horse, and he obviously beat him, giving him lumps away at that entry race. So I think he fell obviously at Newbury, but you know I'll forgive him that. Has returned with a semi-decent third behind Genois, so I think he'll be primed for this. Skelton, and you know, with these big handicaps on the Saturdays, they've been going really well on Saturdays in general, really. So I think for me, Midnight River is the way to go. So I'm going to chance him off 151 at 10-1 each way. So that'll do me as well. Fantastic. Right, we'll fly through the Irish stuff, and then we're pretty much done, lads. So we're going to do we'll mention the Royal Bond. Obviously, would have been a potential start for Salvatore Monday as well, but he's not going to. He's had a little bit of a setback, so we're not going to see him until Christmas / just after. He was my obviously first selection on the Antipost show in the Supreme, so hopefully we'll see him out at some point. Romeo Coolio, George, I'll come to you first, mate. As a quick word, do you think it's his to lose, mate? What do you think of Romeo Coolio?
I did enjoy his hurdling debut, to be fair. He seemed to warm to the task as he went on, the way he jumped the last few. I sort of thought he'd obviously learned and he'll jump better going at speed. Should be mentioned, I think Bottler's Secret's declared on Saturday at Fairyhouse, so I imagine won't be coming. But I can only back one horse in this race, and if there are any final furlong listeners on here, I'll just be repeating myself. I actually broke in Bellacoccio 5 years ago as a yearling. So he's my boy, and he's my favourite horse I ever broke in. He was just quality from day one, like honestly. And I was at Royal Ascot when he won the Copper Horse Handicap this year, and I might have cried my absolute eyes out. It was one of my favourite days in racing. I put him up on the final furlong pre-decks with a Copper Horse, like in a handicap pre-decks, which is obviously a really smart thing to do. But I think this horse has mountains of ability. I've always thought he was better than he had shown over here, which no fault of David Menuzier's. He was just hard to keep sound. No, when he went to Willie Mullins, I went, he's going to be on that deep sand every day. They're not going to have to do as much fast work with him. Like this could be the making of him now. And the win in the Copper Horse was fantastic. His maiden hurdle win was incredible. He was out of his depth for Ascot, wasn't he? Champions Day. I'm obviously massively swayed, but I can't be against him. I think this horse should have been a group horse on the flat, and I look forward to seeing what he does over hurdles. He always looked at hurdler. Like he's a monster of a horse, and he always has been. So I can't bet against him.
So he fully convinced me. I mean, obviously, I'm a fan of Salvador Mundi in the Supreme Market. I mean, he's in there. I don't know what price Bellocchio is. Obviously, Romeo Coolio's up there as well. So it'd be nice to see Bellocchio beat him and say, "What? I'll be right
I
there."
don't know if I'd back him for the Supreme. I think he'll probably end up wanting 2.5 this horse. I will say that. I think he's more likely to end up at the Turners Novice Hurdle probably than the Supreme if everything goes well with him.
Yeah. Well, fingers crossed, mate. I mean, Rich, what do you think of Romeo Coolio? Hopefully, he gets beat then on Sunday. Come on, Bellocchio.
I mean, I just can't see it myself. I mean, Romeo Coolio, his second start was the champion bumper at Cheltenham. I mean, it's some effort to finish second after just winning a race at, when was it, Fairyhouse. I thought his hurdles debut was pretty tight, to be fair. I mean, he's probably not beat a lot, but you only can beat what's in front of you. And yeah, I just think it'll be another one next to his name.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, Gordon Elliott, obviously, he's targeting this race now with this horse. I think he's keeping it at 2 marks. He don't really have much else, but yeah, we'll see. I do think Mullins is going to have something at some point to come out that's going to be better than Romeo Coolio. Hopefully it's Bellocchio on Sunday, but we'll see. The Drimmore then is another little test. You've got Firefox and Heartwood at the top of the market and Gorgeous Tom 5-1 bigger the rest. I mean, you quite like Firefox in here, Rich. What are your thoughts? I think Heartwood would be the one I'd be on after that reappearance in front of Corbett's Cross. Is Firefox 2.5 miler? What do you think?
I mean, you say you beat Corbett Cross, but Corbett's Cross drifted out to sea pretty much. I mean, he was odds on. I don't know what price he went off at in the end. Have a quick look. Heartwood, there we go.
Still running all right though, to be fair.
I mean, he was odds on. I think he was 4 to 6 or something. And he left 4 to 1 is his price. I mean, you couldn't give him away, and Heartwood beat him by 7 lengths. So I just think Firefox is the one to be on. I mean, he finished behind Mystical Power 3 times. If Mystical Power bolts up in the fighting fifth, you can't really knock that form, can you? So I just think he's the one to be on. I think he's the benchmark, and is he going for the Arkle? Is it the Arkle horse? I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be in the Arkle. Yeah.
Probably, yeah. What do you think? George? Firefox, Heartwood?
Yeah, I think Firefox probably have too much toe for Heartwood. To be honest, they seem intent on stepping Heartwood up in trip, which says to me he probably won't have the gears for Firefox as long as Firefox jumps as well as he did last time. I'm a huge fan of his. I remember reviewing. He ran the bumper first time out last season. We reviewed it on the final furlong. And I was just like, that thing's an absolute monster. Like, he went a good gallop all the way around, then just quickened away. And then I was there the day he beat Ballyburn at what was it? Fairyhouse. So I was there for that as well, and I was on him that day. I did think if you want to be really cheeky, I think She Could Be Anything is way too big a price. It won't win, but if you can get a bookmaker to give you 3 places, place only, she's a grade 3 novice chase winner against the boys. She recorded an RPR of 145, beating winning that listed mares event at Bangor last time out. She beat 3 horses rated higher than her while giving weight to all of them, which were You Wear It Well, Casa Memento, and West Balboa. So she probably can't beat Firefox or Heartwood, but if you can get that 3 places, place only, it should pay reasonably well. I just can't see why she's quite as far out in the betting as she is. I think she's got beaten of Croke Park and Jordans all day. Gorgeous Tom, I think she probably would have beaten the day he fell when he ran against her. I think she's just completely the wrong price. It's a bit strange to me. Whether they're going to use one of these as a pacemaker for Firefox, I don't know. But you'd think it'd be Stella Story or Search for Glory if they get further. But I think that's an interesting angle into this one. But Firefox will win.
I like that. I was on You Wear It Well that day as well, so I was sick of that. How she come back from that far away, I don't know. But yeah, Heartwood, Firefox could go either way. Probably, like you say, Firefox might have a bit too much toe, so we'll see. John's put a comment on me. Good evening, John, mate. Heartwood was getting over a stone away from Corbett's. Yeah, He's got a little bit of the experience, obviously, but I think over 2.5. Yeah, it's a tight little race. We'll see which way it goes. Not much of a betting proposition. Both of them quite short in market, but we'll see how it goes. Right, we're going to finish on. We'll do the Hans Grace, then we'll do anything else. Rich, she's here. She's finally out. Is she going to have another stone bruise, or is she actually going to stop bottling it? We're going to see her run or what?
I think she's just going to cement her place in the Champion Hill, isn't she? I mean, she's favourite already. State Man's beatable. I mean, yes. What is she? Straight 156. She gets £7 for Teahupoo. That takes her up to what we're looking at.
Still rated below him.
60. Yeah, I mean, not by much though, is it? I mean, she's got more speed. She just wins. She's an absolute machine. I'm all over her.
And that has been the Final Flight podcast. What do you think then, George? I mean, obviously we spoke a little bit about it earlier, but just as a final point, if Lossiemouth... Go on.
In terms of getting Lossiemouth beat, you've got to bear in mind, one Willie Mullins horse here and 3 Gordon Elliott horses. Like, this race isn't going to be run to suit. This is not only the best horse she's ever come up against, it's probably the trickiest condition she's ever come up against. I think it's going to be fascinating to watch from a tactical perspective. But like I said earlier, if there's any rain and the ground goes soft, I'll back Teahupoo at 4 to 5. If there's not, I'll sit and watch.
Yeah, I mean, I won't be having a bet. I'll just sort of be hoping that it goes my way in terms of pride. But yeah, I think like you said, 3 Gordon Elliott horses, they're going to make this race as they're going to think, what's the one way to not that Lossiemouth's going to hate this, and they're going to try and make it. I think
it's going to be
they're going to
see the Stars versus the Aidan O'Brien battalion in the Juddmonte International on country.
That's exactly it, and I'm really excited. I mean, it's a good race. Like I said, we are getting some really good races in Ireland at the moment. I know there's a small field, but tactical wise, it's going to be so fascinating to watch. So hopefully they all stand up and they make the running and we get a good race similar to that. I mean, the fighting, not the fighting fifth, the oh my god, the Factor Far race. Got what it's called now.
John Durkin.
John Durkin was a belter. So hopefully that sort of way it's going continues. Right, Rich, I'm going to come to you, mate. Anything else you'd like to mention for the weekend? And then if you've got what else, George, you can throw it up, and then that'll be done.
Yeah, so tomorrow at Newbury, you've got Regent Strolls making his reappearance. That's the first race at Newbury. Second race, you've got Caliph de Burley, who was tanking along on Chase debut before falling. Be interesting to see how that has affected him. Obviously, you've got Langadan is back out versus Strong Leader. How primed is he going to be? I mean, you've got the jukebox man, Johnny U, Captain Teague in there. It's a really good card tomorrow at Newbury, actually. Be quite interesting to see what happens. Saturday, first race, you've got Lavender Hill Mob for James Owen, who apparently said this horse was better than East India Doc, who bolted up in the Triumph Trial at Cheltenham.
Yeah.
Was he now about 1 to 8 on or something?
Yeah, I mean, he's no sort of price. And then again, on the Saturday, Fairyhouse, you've got Imperie Pass, Waterford Whispers making their chase debuts. You've got A Dream to Share is going to make his hurdle debut, I believe. And then you've got a Donnelly newcomer who's taken on Carla Conti in the 155 called Amsterdam, who I think has got some nice French form. So it'll be interesting to see where he ranks them on the Donnellys. I mean, Carla Conti won that juvenile hurdle at Christmas, beating like Nürburgring and Cargies. And then in the bumper, you've got 2 newcomers, which have been a little bit of talking horses. You've got the Marjax Hill for Elliott, and is it You Proof or Your Proof for Mullins? I think that could be an interesting matchup. And that is your lot.
Fantastic. A lot of horses to keep an eye on. It's certainly been an informative weekend. George, you got anything else you'd like to chuck up, mate?
Yeah, I had all those races down, but might as well mention a couple of Gary Moore's, some here. We've got Saturday at Newbury in the 3:35. We've got Issar Dairy, who I put up as novice chaser to follow last year on this podcast.
I remember it well.
Yeah, he's up £2 for finishing second to Matador on his seasonal reappearance. Matador is now £17 higher. Issar Dairy is only £2 higher. And obviously the third horse that day was also ours, Cotmask, who confirmed the form of the Master race by finishing second to him again. So he'll be interesting, just £2 higher at Newbury. And we've got a horse tomorrow making his comeback, I think 699 days off the track at Newbury in the Caliph Burley race. Moulin Clermont. He's absent since December 2022. He finished second in a hurdle at Newbury off 122 that day, got put up to 125. He's been dropped down to 117 for his time off the track. He makes his chase debut on Friday. It's more of probably a watching brief. His schooling's been getting better. He wasn't the most careful to start with, but I think he's the sort of horse that he's either going to take to chasing and he's going to make 117 look very silly, or he's not going to take to chasing and he's going to go back over hurdles and 117 is going to look silly. You know what I mean? Like it's just worth sitting and watching what you'll do with him for the rest of the season. Because I think he's an interesting horse. I ride him every day at home, so I'm a bit biased, but it's taken a lot of effort to get him back to the track after this long off, and I think most of the ability, if not all, if he's not even improved a little bit, like it's still there. He works pretty well. Better than 117, that's for sure.
Fantastic, mate. I love that. Well, we'll keep an eye on him then. From tomorrow, not clicking either. Well, if he don't win tomorrow, he'll win at some point, won't he? So we'll have him in the trackers. Right then, that's it. Well, George, mate, thanks for coming on, mate. We really do appreciate it. Oh, what?
Before we go, can I just ask, how is Nassalam?
Nassalam's good. Nassalam's good. He's badly handicapped, isn't he? That's what we've got to deal with at the moment. He's grand. He's fine. I mean, we got plenty of good ones there. Like we say, Editor the Sheet's back out tomorrow as well. We got plenty of nice ones knocking about. I think that El Kairos that won that bumper the other day, if everything goes well with him, he'll be champion bumper bound. We've actually got Mundo Man as well. You might remember from finishing fourth behind Command again. He'll be looking at a sort of certainly like January, February hurdles debut. He'll be a nice horse. But yeah, we've got plenty of nice ones there.
Anyone for the Fred Winter this year?
Now you're asking. I can't. If I haven't run yet, I probably can't say. Is what I'll say.
I'll let you off then. I won't push you. We might ask you next time if you come on again.
I've got one in mind. When it wins on debut, I'll come on and tell you about it.
Right, that'll do then. So we'll keep an eye on that then. Fantastic, mate. No, yeah, we do appreciate you coming, mate. It's been a good laugh tonight. I've enjoyed it. It's always good to chat. So hopefully we'll get you on again at some point. Rich, obviously, we've got the weekend. Then we're going to have the next Cheltenham show on Monday. We have a jockey coming on again. I'm going to announce that over the weekend. Another one that's been on some decent horses of late and has won some good races. So looking forward to getting him on. Like I say, that'll be announced over the weekend. If you haven't already, go on to the Cheltenham show and get your entries to the competition. Obviously, we hacked up racing there, giving us we've sorted out a bundle, body warmer, and all that. It's a good little prize. All you got to do is enter in the comments. So I'll be dropping some comments to the people who've already entered and for week 2. Make sure you're into that. Like and subscribe to the channel. We do appreciate it. We do have a good time doing it. And if you don't like it, you know where the door is. But yeah, we'll see you all back on Thursday next week. Monday, then Thursday. So that's it. Thanks everyone for coming. And we'll see you all next time. Cheers, George, Rich. Have a good weekend.
Cheers, George. See you later.
Thanks so much.